Okay, the first part of your SLO is where you're going to evaluate expressions, and there's going to be three variables that are going to be given to you. So um, the three are A, B, and C, and I'm going to tell you what those are. So I'm going to say A is 2, B is 3, and C is 2.4. And if those are your variables, and I go and I say, well, evaluate the expression. So the direction is to evaluate. And the first expression in your SLO will be like this. A minus 2B plus 3C. Okay, and all you have to do is then substitute. So since we know A is 2, we'll plug that in. And since B is 3, I'm going to plug that in. And I'm going to put it in parentheses to remind myself that it's 2 times B, which would be 2 times 3. And then same thing here. My C is 2.4. So I'm going to remind myself by parentheses to remind myself that I need to multiply that. Now, then we go through and do order of operations. Alright, so the order of operations would be to multiply first. So 2 times 3 is 6. And you can also think of it as negative 2 times 3, which would be negative 6. The 2 would just carry down. And then I have a positive 3 times a positive 2.4, which is a positive 7.2. Now the next step of order of operations is to add and subtract, and you can do that all at the same time as long as you do it left to right. Okay, and if you have a red calculator, you can just type it in. 2 minus 6 plus 7.2, and you're going to get 3.2. Key here is just make sure you do it left to right. Don't just jump in the middle, or else that's what's going to make it wrong. Number 2, okay, a little bit more complex. So you want to make sure, again, stick to the order of operations. Okay, and the first part of order of operations is anything in parentheses must be done. So after I do my substitutions, okay, B squared minus A plus your C, which would be 2 plus 2.4. First step is grouping. So I'm going to focus on all the grouping. Now there's 2 levels of grouping that you see here. You have the brackets and then the parentheses. So the parentheses is the first level, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I can get rid of the parentheses because there's nothing in front of the parentheses that's making me keep it to remind myself of multiplication. So I can drop the parentheses. Now the second level is brackets. Okay, so within the brackets, I need to do exponent first. And then here's where you would need to keep the bracket because there's a number in front of the bracket, which means you would have to multiply it. So once you do, or up before with the parentheses, you had to drop those because there's no number in front of it. But now, since there's a 3 in front of the brackets, you're going to keep that to remind yourself to multiply. Now, so now that we know we have to multiply, the 2 plus will just come down, and a positive 3 times a positive 4.6 is 13.8, and then I just add 2 to that, and I get 15.8. Just make sure that we multiply first. Very key. Okay. Stick to the order of operations. That's the fundamental part about that problem. And same thing with number 3. Number 3 of your SLO will have this expression, which is a fraction. And when you do a fractions, you're going to do the numerator or the top separately from the denominator or the bottom. So you're going to just work the top and the bottom separately. So I'll scroll back up so I know what my A, B, and C are again. Let me box this off so we don't get that mixed up. All right, so b cubed would be 3 cubed. Okay, and plus a, which is 2, and then I'm going to put c in parentheses again to remind myself it's a times c. So 2.4 there. On the bottom, a times b, so that'd be 2 times 3, which will be 6. Okay, but we'll do that later. And then 2 times your b, which is 3. And notice I'm putting all those in parentheses, reminding myself that all those are being multiplied. 2.4. Okay, will be there. So, handle them separately. So the top exponents, 3 times 3 times 3. Now that's not, it's 3 times itself 3 times. To do that in your calculator, you would use the caret key. You would do 3 caret 3. But since essentially it's this, 3 times 3 times 3. So that's 27. All right, and then 2 times 2.4 would be 4.8. And then that one's pretty much done after we combine those. Now on the bottom, okay, we have 2 times 3, which is 6, and 6 times 2.4 is 14.4. And then now we just simplify. So on the bottom, we have 20.4. And on the top, we have 27 plus 4.8, 31.8. And you can go ahead and divide those last. So save the division last after you get those things done. I'm going to use squiggly marks to show you that I'm rounding here. So this is approximately 1.56. And as far as answering this question on the SLO, I would accept either one. Because what I'm really testing you is making sure that you understand how to substitute and then how to handle order of operations for fractions where you have to do the top and the bottom separately. And you're going to wait to the very last step, if you choose to divide. Okay.